Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. This is Spiguyver Backpacking. I'm Spiguyver. I'm out here in my garage today and I've kind of created a new little workspace out here just for doing things like I want to do today, which is testing out and talking about some new gear that I received this week. And this will be a great place to start doing some alcohol tests, some stove tests, and just kind of getting things going with that. I've got a lot of alcohol stoves. I've got quite a bit of stuff out here with me, and so we'll just kind of start going through it. And over time, there's probably going to be a bunch of new alcohol stove videos, and maybe some other stoves. Maybe we'll do a couple of canister stoves, maybe some wood stoves, and do a little bit of comparisons there. But for today, I wanted to talk about the cook kit that I got. This is the cook kit that I got from Zelph, and this is a Toaks 550 Caldera cone, and it comes with the modified Starlyte burner / stove. So why don't we get this thing going and let's talk about these things. Let's go. So like I mentioned, this is a newer kit that I got from Zelph. After I got the Fancy Feast stove, I started doing a little bit of research, looking at things. I saw that Jax had done a video where he had gotten this, and so I kind of wanted to check it out and see what we got. So the kit comes with the stuff you see here, plus a cap that goes on top of this Starlyte. This is the modified Starlyte. The reason that it's modified is that you can see this ring in here reduces the burn area. The regular Starlyte does not have that, and so this whole area is the mesh that you see there. So that is the Starlyte. I went ahead and wrote the weights on the bottom, but this thing is 14 grams the way it sits. If you use the stand that it comes with, it's 14 or 15.8, and if you put the lid on, it goes up to 17. So the way this works is you've got these little holes. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's holes there. And this little stand fits down inside of these holes. Just kind of get it started, and then you can push them down. And now, what was a burner, because a burner doesn't have a pot stand, now becomes a stove because that pot stand is on there. And this little pot stand support there is 1.8 ounces. 1.8 grams, I'm sorry, not ounces, 1.8 grams. So there you have a viable stove option. So this whole kit is available in limited quantities at very short periods of time on the Zelph website. All right, so I've got my scale here. I'm going to tare it so it's zeroed out. So this is the 550 light titanium light pot, and what Zelph has done to make this one a little bit unique is you can see this rolled edge right there, and what that does is it allows somewhere for this to seat when it drops down into that Caldera cone, and so it won't go anywhere past that rolled edge. This one is the new one, and it was pointed out by someone else, a different viewer, that the new light ones have the graduated markings, and so indeed this new one does have those markings, and I find that to be very useful and something that I'm going to use quite a bit. It's got the lid, fits together well. It's got the little piece up top that you can slide over. It locks there so that you can hook it, get it, or fold it down, whatever you want to do. Like I said, it's got the stove and then the Caldera cone. I'll set this stuff all together, put it on here, and we're looking at 103 grams or 3.64 ounces. So this is a complete kit. You do not need, if you're using this as a kit, you do not need this piece. So that should reduce it by about 1.8 grams. And we're looking at 3.56 ounces for a complete cook kit right there. So how well does this thing work? Why don't we get some fuel, get this thing going, and we'll talk about it. All right, guys. So thanks for coming back, checking this out. I've got a new toy, a new tool that I'll be using as I'm doing these tests to make them a little bit more scientific. So here you can see I've got a timer and a temperature with a probe. Currently you can see that it's reading about 46 degrees, and that's what it is here in my garage. So what I plan to do is put this in the water. So I've got 12 ounces of water in here. Now why 12 ounces? So I can go in and I can grab a handful of the different meals that I use, and what you'll find is the majority of the meals that I tend to use, the max fuel used, or the max water required is 12 ounces. So that's all I'm doing for these tests because that's most realistic to what I'm gonna do. I have 3/4 of an ounce of heat. This is yellow bottle heat right here. Chances are it's not gonna take that. It's been borderline with a 1/2 ounce, whether or not I get it to boil. That's 12 ounces with a 1/2 ounce of fuel, whether or not I get it to boil. I wanna make sure that it does boil here for this test, so I'm gonna use a full 3/4. Now the cool thing about this stove is after you get your water to a boil, you can blow it out, let it cool. Preferably, if you can cool it off a little bit quicker, like setting it down on a cold rock or setting it out in the snow, something to cool it down, and then put the cap on it, you can retain any of the fuel that was left in there, and so there's no waste. Even if you put an ounce in there, even if you use a half of that ounce, and there's still a 1/2 ounce left, put the cap on, retain it for the next time you want to boil water. So here is the 3/4 of an ounce. You have to be kind of careful pouring it in there. Make sure that you get it down into there and not on the ring. I got a little bit on the ring right there. But here's the neat thing. There's a batting material in there that is more of a wick material than something like a carbon felt. A carbon felt absorbs it but isn't really wicking. This one absorbs it, and I can turn it upside down. There's 3/4 of an ounce of fuel in here, and you can see it is not leaking. I'm moving it up and down, sideways, whatever, it's not moving. Now when I want to light it, I just simply touch that center, and there we go. It is lit. I got a little piece of ash or something off of my lighter on there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put this on there, set this right on, and you can see that with that ring, that rolled edge, it just drops down on there. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the start, and we're gonna let this thing go. Starting water temperature right now is 57 degrees, so we'll see what it takes to get it up to 209. The reason we're using 209, I'm at about 1,400 feet elevation here. You subtract 1 degree per 500 feet of elevation gain for finding the boiling temperature for where you're at. Standard sea level, standard day, it is 212 degrees. So because I'm about 1,500 feet, subtract 3 degrees, that gives me 209. That's what I've got set in here. So let's get this thing going, and we'll come back and take a look at what it does. Okay, so here we are just about 9 minutes in, and we are about 10 degrees shy of a boil, maybe a little over. So we'll see how much longer it takes to get there, but it keeps climbing pretty steadily. And there's 209. Pull the lid off. You can see we've got a good rolling boil going on in there. So 10 minutes, right at 10 minutes. We can stop the timer. All right, so there you go. This will boil that 1.5 cups in about 10 minutes, coming from 57 degrees up to 209. It's still burning, but it's really not burning all that much. And honestly, the burn time out here right now between the 1/2 ounce and the 3/4 of an ounce that I was using this time really wasn't much of a difference at all. Even though the flame was burning in there nice and hot, these handles stay super cool. And if I was gonna do something like a coffee in this, go ahead and do it, drink it right out of here. That's what's great about the 550 is it is the right size to just kind of put up to your face and drink out of. For me, the 550 is the perfect size pot. The cone is super, super lightweight, comes apart, roll it up, you can put it down inside of your pot. Because of the height of it, it's actually a little bit shallower than the pot, so it fits down in there real nice. Your burner, once it cools off, this is the cap I was telling you about that fits right on there. Bang, you put that on, and you've got the little measuring cup, and that's what I've been using with this one. So all in all, it's a great little kit that really a lot of people out there that have it really like it, and so I'm gonna get it out on the trail, use it. Like I said, it does come with this little support that you can put in there that makes it a stove rather than just a burner. Really not much need for this while I'm using it in the cone. However, I have noticed, and this may be a reason that I do use it, maybe I will do another test just to see, but when I have this pot support in there, it burns a little bit cooler. And I think the reason is these 4 holes that this fits in actually end up, to some extent, working as jets when I don't have this installed. And so there's a little bit of maybe wasted fuel. I don't know, it would probably come out the center either way. I'm not exactly sure, but I can absolutely do some more tests to figure that out. So I do have a few tests that I'm gonna be doing coming up. First is going to be an actual test of this stove where we put it to its test, doing a couple of different things. Now first, we saw it with the cone that it came with. I also have my normal 550 light without the rolled edge and my other Caldera cone. And this one, what's different about this is that it sits all the way down instead of the Zelph one, which doesn't go all the way down. It sits there. Height-wise, it's the same. And so regardless, this burner underneath either one of them is going to be given the same distance between burner and bottom of the pot. The difference being this one, the full Caldera cone, traps more heat in. Now it's also heavier, so that's something that we will have to weigh. We'll have to factor in how much fuel it consumes, how fast it boils, and which one becomes more efficient, the weight difference, how much fuel you would have to carry for a certain number of days out on the trail in order to make it even. So those are some of the tests that are coming up. I've got a bunch of different stoves that I want to be testing out. And actually, one of the things I want to be taking a look at is how some of the stoves work with the 550 compared to something like my questionable mental health or any other Foster's pot that I've made, or in an upcoming video, I will be showing how to make a Heine pot, because I happen to come upon 2 vintage old bottles or cans of Heineken that will be turned into cooking vessels at some point in the not too distant future. So look for that. Thank you, Uncle Mike. Really appreciate that. So I've got 2 of those, gonna be turning them into pots. I've got my questionable mental health here. And one of the things I think is really nice about a stove like this is that it burns in the center, and something like a domed pot like this actually could be pretty good for that. But that's a future video. I appreciate you guys checking me out. If you guys want any more information, down below I will put a link to Zelph's site, so you could go check those out. It's a very limited time run. They've done it a couple of times. I think this time they had 16 of them to go, and that's it. Once they were gone until the next round, which I don't know how often they come up, but it isn't very often. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me today. If you guys have any questions, any comments, any stoves you would like to see tested, I've got a slew of stoves I'm going to be testing, from my DIY Fancy Feasts, Zelph's Fancy Feasts, my DIY Spiguyver stove, some of the Mini Bull design stoves. I've got a lot of different stoves that we're going to put to the tests. Now that we've got some standard conditions that we can set in here, we've got the tools to do it right and show what the change is from room temperature or whatever the water's starting at to boiling at 209, what time I get there. And I'm gonna be doing them all, like I said, with 12 ounces of water. Now I know a lot of people like to do their tests with 2 cups of water. I just don't have very many, if any, meals that I require 2 cups of water, so that's how that's gonna go. I appreciate it, guys. I will see you down the trail.